Hey y'all, how you doing today? I'm hanging in as always. Been a while since I posted my last video and just kind of been debating what to talk about. And gonna talk some about my health issues, some of the things I've been through. Um, and tonight I'm gonna talk about my pain management that I found when I moved out here. Back in 2001 when I was living in Portsmouth. Um, and then after I got my disability, I started seeing pain management out there. And at first, they were really gung ho to help get my pain levels down, um, see, what problems they could fix. Uh, I mean, they seem to be a dream come true, really, for my back issues. Um, it wasn't long after that they were talking about doing a trial spinal cord stimulator, to see if that would, help my back, help the pain, and, hopefully get me off of some of my medications. But as much as I continued to ask and to try and get it set up and going, it never happened. So in the 9 years I was with them, my medication just kept going up and up. We started out on, regular morphine, and eventually we settled onto the fentanyl patches. Now with the patches, they are, put on your skin, and it slowly puts the medicine into your body over time. Um, Normally you have one patch and you leave it on for 3 days, and then when it's time, after that 3 days is up, you take that one off and put a new one on. For the most part, if you're above 100 microgram patches, you're pretty much, that's comparable to being on ketamine, which is a horse injection that they give. By the time I left Virginia Beach and came out here, I had been on a total of 250 micrograms, and I was changing them every other day instead of every 3 days. So that really kept me way over medicated. And then during that time, I was also on my muscle relaxers. So it's really no wonder I OD'd twice on all of that. After my second OD, I threw the muscle relaxers away. But I was still on extremely high doses of the fentanyl. And it just, even though every time I saw them, they would count my pills to make sure my pill form of medication was being adhered to. Even with all their precautions, I was still a prescription junkie. I had learned, quite early on that if I told them I was still hurting, they'd just up the medication. And I'm not saying I wasn't hurting, but I would exaggerate when I would see them, which that's what a junkie does. Yes, the pain is there, the pain is real, but to get the end result of more medication, you just exaggerate. And I did that. Looking back, I did it without any intent or malice with it, but I did it to get more medication. So when I moved out here back home to be near Dad, my husband wasn't working, so the only insurance I had was my Medicare. And my dad knew of a doctor that did pain management, so I was able to get in to see them, and did our they did their evaluation, and started prescribing me medications. And of course the main one was the fentanyl, but because I didn't have any other insurance, and fentanyl is an expensive medication, I ended up, by November of that year, I had hit that quote-unquote donut hole of Medicare that I had never even been near to before. And a month's worth of fentanyl was going to be about $1,200 out of pocket. And I don't get that much. I had other medications I had to be on as well, and I mean, I couldn't afford it, so I had to go back, and we had to switch me off of fentanyl onto, another medication that was not as expensive, whether it's fully out of pocket or through insurance. So that's when I stopped using fentanyl, and I haven't used it since. Thank goodness. Like I said, I started seeing my pain management here in 2010 when I moved out here. And by late summer of 2011, I had already had the spinal cord stimulator test for my back and had been approved to have it implanted. So I believe it was August of 2011 that I had my spinal cord stimulator put in. And after that healed, holy crap, my life just changed. And I could not believe how much of the pain decreased when I had it put in. I was able to come way, way down on my medications. And it was amazing to not be over medicated and to still not hurt so bad I couldn't get out of bed all the time. I was able to start doing more, around the house with my dad, helping him garden, do canning. I mean, I really was able to do a whole lot more when I had it put in. But 2 years later, there had been some issues with it not working properly. And we found out a couple leads had come off and weren't working proper. So we set up to go in and get it fixed, and we were going to, while we were doing all that, the main unit that runs the spinal cord stimulator that is implanted under the skin in my butt, the one I originally had, you could not have an MRI with it in. And this newer model would be able to be MRI'd, which would be helpful because as the years progress, I need MRIs and CAT scans of my back to see how bad everything has deteriorated above where my metal is. So this was September of 2013. And, when you start the procedure, you have to be semi-awake, not fully awake, but not fully out of it. That way you can tell them when they place the leads, if the leads feel like they're in the right spot when they, put power to it, so they know they've put them correctly. And so we did that, and then right after that is when they put me fully to sleep and, put the unit in my behind and closed me up and everything and got me into my room for recovery. And, they had given me some crackers and some juice, and I drank the juice. I didn't eat anything, but I drank the juice, but I ended up throwing it up for some reason, which it's very unusual for me to get sick from anesthesia. So I didn't really know what was going on. But I didn't have anything else except that one drink, and it had all come up. So I was like, yeah, whatever. So then the rep comes in to turn on my spinal cord stimulator unit. And they turn it on, and half of it isn't working at all. I feel no current. There was nothing there. So he played around with things as much as he could through his unit and came to the conclusion that they needed to go back in. Now, mind you, I had had a little bit to drink, but I had thrown it up. And I let them know this. But the anesthesiologist told me that because I had had something to eat or drink, they couldn't put me under because he was afraid I would throw up and aspirate it, which the entire time of this procedure, I'm laying on my face and there's nothing for a good 6 inches between my face and the bottom of the table where I was. So even if I had thrown up, there's no way I could have aspirated anything. But he was 1,000% adamant he was not giving me anesthesia. And if I didn't have them fix it then, it was going to be a few weeks before they could get me back. So I made the choice to go ahead and have them fix it then. So they get me back in the operating room. And this time they have cut open my back and my butt while I was fully awake. The anesthesiologist wasn't just not giving me any kind of anesthesia. He didn't give me any kind of medicine to help dull the pain or at least mute it a little bit. He gave me nothing. And I'm laying there and I am sobbing. Unfortunately, because of the noise in the room and the fact that the doctor was talking to his colleagues about what they needed to do and everything, he couldn't hear me. And I mean, I continuously through that time kept telling them how much it hurt and how much pain I was in. The anesthesiologist didn't give a shit. And my doctor couldn't hear me and nobody related to him what I was going through. So for almost an hour, I was in hell. I swear to God. It was one of the most painful things I've ever been through. By the time they got done, there was a pool of tears, of water under my face from how much I had cried. And by the time they were done, all I could do was just breathe a sigh of relief that I had made it through it. And luckily, everything was fine at that point and working properly. But having a surgery like that with no anesthesia is definitely not something I'm going to recommend. I knew I probably should have filed a grievance against the anesthesiologist, but I didn't. Every time I've had to go there Since then, though, for any reason, I've always made sure that that anesthesiologist has never been anywhere near me. I don't remember his name, but he really looked a shitload like Ben Affleck. But I never did. I just forgot his name, but I swear to God, the man put me through torture for no reason. I could have had any kind of anesthesia safely, but he just refused. And I mean, we are all kind of indoctrinated into believing our doctors are infallible and that they know what they're doing, they know best, and we need to trust them implicitly. And if there's one thing I've learned from that time is that you do have the right to say no. And you do have a right to have a say in how you're treated during that time. And you have a right to ask for a second opinion. You know, I could have made a huge stink about it and had them bring in another anesthesiologist, and I probably would have gotten one that would have done at least, a little bit of something so that I wasn't in full pain that whole time. But at the time, I really did, trust implicitly in what they said, no matter what. And never again. I'll tell you, never again. Because nobody should have any kind of surgery without anesthesia like that. And I count it as pretty much the most painful medical experience I've ever had. Even childbirth didn't compare to how bad that pain was. And I can guarantee it'll never happen again. That was, it was insane, to say the least. But, since then, my stimulator has been great. We haven't had to do anything else to it, just kind of adjust it every now and again, but I haven't even had to have that done for quite a while. So it's, I love my stimulator unit. That spinal cord stimulator has definitely made my life a lot better without having to be over medicated to be comfortable. And, I definitely don't want to think of life without it. But that's my story of going through back surgery with no anesthesia. So I'm off for the night, gonna get something to eat, go to bed. I hope y'all have had a wonderful day. If you've watched this, I thank you, and I appreciate you taking the time. Love y'all from the bottom of my heart, and have a good night. Bye.